Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Brent, this is Anchors Away RV. This is a saga, an absolute saga about all of the problems that we've had with regard to our battery system. And I think it's worthwhile watching all the way through. So starting off, RVs, particularly A-class RVs, have two battery systems. The truck batteries, which are at the top, and then the house batteries, which are down the bottom. And this story, spanning months and spanning across 4 different states in the US, is our story. And this story ends up with a threat to sue. So follow along with us and see all the nightmares we've just been through over the past 2 months.
We're on the way.
Alright, so in the never-ending drama of things breaking down, we got up this morning, had our breakfast, got everything packed up, put the key into the ignition, and our batteries were dead. I ran the gen set for 2 or 3 minutes, managed to start the engine, the diesel, the Cummins engine, and then it died. So I ran the gen set again for another 3 or 4 minutes, managed to start the diesel engine, let it run for a while, went outside to have a look at the batteries because we checked the battery levels and the batteries were basically down to dead. And I found one of the terminals on the main battery appears to be broken. So I have no idea how that happened. We've been having some trouble with our main battery for quite a while, probably weeks, and now it must be finally given up the ghost. So we're going to drive directly to our next campground. We're there for 6 days, so over that 6-day period I'm going to investigate it. Hopefully it's not the alternator, hopefully it's just the battery, and we'll take the battery out and go down to Sam's, get a new battery, and hopefully that'll solve the problem. Okay, for a few weeks now we've had issues with our main batteries, so we don't really know what's going on with them. I'm going to dive in to the battery cabinet now and see if I can find something that might be the cause of it. Okay, so this is the battery cabinet. At the bottom here is all of the house batteries, so they are charging up quite nicely. They all look like they need a bit of a clean, which I might do. We've got some, looks like a little bit of corrosion there, needs to get cleaned off. Otherwise they look reasonable, but these are the ones up here which I need to look more deeply into. Looks like it's been getting hot. That's peeled away. That's that peeled away. Anyway, so I'll have a quick look into that and see if I can see anything that's untoward, and then I'll let you know what's going on. Okay, so 3 of the battery terminals were loose, so I've tightened them up. I don't really think that was enough to cause the batteries to discharge the way that they did. So I'm going to wait until we get into one of the towns where we're staying for about a week, and then I think I'll take all of the batteries out and I'll redo all of the connections, and that's on all 6 of them, not just the 2 main batteries. And I can check all the water levels and do all of that at the same time, just do an all-round service on them, and then hopefully that'll be the end of it. But for the time being, I'm happy with them staying as they are. Okay, our ongoing problem with our batteries. I've done a bit of investigation and I've made some notes and done some research. Starting off, I'll let you have a look at our levels. Up in here, you'll see there's a main battery and auxiliary battery. Now we push the levels test button and you'll see the main battery comes up with all 4 terminals, and then one disappears. Okay, and then the house battery or auxiliary battery is just normal. So the reason it's doing that is we're currently connected to mains power, and very shortly I'm going to disconnect mains power and I'll start the engine and I'll show you what happens with the main battery when we do that. Okay, so now mains power is off, we can do the levels test again, and it's pretty much exactly as it was before. So now I'll start the engine. So now we have the engine idling, and you can see the main battery's dead. Alright, so these are the 2 batteries up the top here that we're dealing with. Now I've got myself a meter. Now of course when there's no load on these batteries, they're going to show a 12 volt differential between positive and negative. If I started the bus, I'm picking that there will still be a voltage across there, but it will be from the alternator, not from the battery. And I think the alternator will be dragged down by one of these batteries. Now I want you to have a really close look. I'm going to try and line this up properly. It's very hard to see with this camera, but basically this battery here has a bulge down the side. Now normally when a battery has a bulge like this, it means that they're either being overcharged or they've got a short circuit in there. Now if you recall, I mentioned that this plastic at the top here had looked like it had melted. So this battery I'm picking has had a pair of the plates short circuit. It's heated up. That's caused a discharge of gases into the battery itself, which has caused this to swell. So this battery is stuffed, in my opinion. Now with the truck batteries, the recommendation is that when you replace one, you actually replace both, so that they're the same age, same battery type, and will age at the same rate. So I'm now going to go ahead and disconnect both of these batteries and put them in the car. They're less than 12 months old, so they'll go off to Sam's Club, and hopefully Sam's Club will be do the right thing and replace both of those. Now the batteries down the bottom here are really filthy, so once I've replaced these at the top, I'll actually disconnect all of these down here and I'll give them a proper service and reconnect them. That's my next, I don't know, half an hour I guess, to disconnect all those and put them in the car. Alright, so both batteries are out. That only took about 5 minutes, to be honest. Really simple process. What we've got here, because they're in connected in parallel, you've got the 2 positives are connected. It's got this bar here, so I only had to take the one stud out. Really filthy. Then you've got the negatives bonded together. I'm going to clean all of this up. I'm going to also buy some of that spray stuff to redo all the terminals, because it's just absolutely disgusting. Yeah, so I'll take those into
Sam's and hopefully they'll do the right thing. Okay, prior to turning the power back onto the van, I've put one of my big lumps of timber in there. So that's keeping the positive terminals and negative terminals away from any of the metal casing in here, because the last thing we want to do is short this out against the bus and create additional problems. So there we go. Be very careful once you've turned the power back on not to short anything out. As you can see, I've got these all tied together with a cable tie. These are of course on their original studs there, so they're all held together properly, and this lot is also held together with a cable tie. Alright. Okay, so we went down to Sam's Club. We got the batteries replaced under warranty. They did the right thing there. So there's the 2 new batteries. Before we get started, I'm going to shut off all the power, so the only power that's going to be available inside the motorhome will be the house batteries down the bottom here. I'm going to do a little bit of a clean up on the shelf where the batteries go. I've got some like an anti-rust paint. This is white because I use this for the car when I put the base plate on. Normally I'd go and buy black paint, rust inhibitor paint, but you know, white is white. It's in a cupboard, nobody's going to see it. It'll just look really horrible when it gets dirty. Doesn't matter, rust prevention is rust prevention, so I'll use that. I'm going to clean up all of the terminals and connectors. That's this and this, and all of these connectors as well. I've got a wire brush, and then once I've done that, I'm going to use this battery corrosive prevention spray to try to protect it from any more future issues with corrosion. The cleaning process, I'll use some baking soda solution which will neutralize any acid that's still sitting on those terminals. So I'm going to go through and do all of that, and then we'll show you the finished product. Okay, so the service has been completed on the batteries, so they were all reconnected. Those are the two new ones from Sam's Club, and down the bottom here I have cleaned them all up, checked all the levels, topped up with those that needed to be topped up, cleaned everything, reconnected everything, and I had a little bit of white anti-rust paint, and you'll see I've redone all the surfaces there, so much more tidy. So of course the question is, did this solve the problem? Well, it didn't, and we all know why, because the alternator has packed up. Now we've had a mobile diesel mechanic come out. They've disconnected, they've confirmed first of all that the alternator was had it. Now I know that it was only producing 10 volts, which is about 4.5 volts lower than it needs to be. So I was already pretty suspicious that it was the alternator, but you know, you got to go through the steps to do these things. So he put his tester on it. He confirmed that yes, the voltage started off okay, but then it would drop down to as low as 8 volts being produced from the alternator, which of course is not good. So they've disconnected it, taken it away, and sometime today apparently they're going to come back with a new one and fit that, and all things being equal, we should be done. So we'll see what happens, see if he turns up, see if he comes back. Otherwise we're not going anywhere because we don't have an alternator. The mobile mechanic came back a couple of days later, 2 days, and then put the new alternator back in. we paid our absolutely horrendous bill, which we have not yet psychologically recovered from.
Astronomical.
Yeah, it was a little bit more than we thought it was going to be.
Not a little bit more, a lot more.
Anyway, so we got back to our parking area, and it appeared that the alternator was doing an over voltage, so we were very worried about that. I got absolutely no sleep last night because we just spent all this money getting it fixed.
And it's not working.
And this morning I thought, well, I've got to investigate this further. I fired up the engine. It was still an overvolt. I turned on the lights. The voltage went down to 14.5, which is where we want it to be. So then later on in the day we did another test. I tested across the batteries, and they're where they're supposed to be as well. So we think we're actually okay. We're not 100% sure, but we think we're okay. So of course, as it turned out, we were not okay. The overvolt problem persisted. We drove from Texas up to Oklahoma. We had to adjust lights and air conditioning and all manner of things to try to maintain the voltage from the alternator below the 18 volts, and to stop the battery fault light coming on. So we went back and contacted the initial installer of the alternator, and they said to us, very likely that the old alternator that was in there has blown out the voltage regulator. We thought this seems quite reasonable, so we took the vehicle into a Premier truck group, and they're a Freightliner specialist, and our motorhome is built on a Freightliner chassis. And we told them everything that had happened, and they said to us, well, the batteries are new, the alternator's new, it can't be that, it must be something else. Leave it with us and we'll diagnose the issue. So we did that. About 4 hours later, we decided we'll go do some sightseeing, utilize the time. About 4 hours later, they called us back and they said, hey, look, the alternator that was installed, they shorted out the main terminal, the signal terminal, onto to earth, and that's likely the cause of the overvolt, and your alternator's now packed up. So the brand new alternator's packed up. We'll have to order in a new one. So that was a little bit disappointing, and they needed to order a new one in, and it was Memorial Weekend. So we had to wait from Friday until the following Tuesday. So we were lucky enough, we managed to book in here, a very nice campground, and I'll do a review on this campground a bit later on. But we managed to book in here for a week. We took the motorhome back in on Tuesday. They put the new alternator in, taking out the old alternator, and they found that the alternator that was installed was a 24 volt alternator on our 12 volt system, and that was the cause of the over voltage. So at that point, produced a letter which outlined our issue and our intent to sue, and we forwarded that off to the first mechanic, and we'll see whether we get any result, and that will be in a different video because this one's finished. Our battery problem is resolved. We've got the correct alternator in. We've now got a mechanic who's nationwide, who we're going to be using for all of our work in future. So guys, if you enjoyed the video, thanks for that. Give us a thumbs up, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're here for 2 years. Give us your support. Thanks guys, see you next time.